What worked before in America is not working anymore. And why is that? Because you had the right, you had the left, but why were they able to come to compromises? Why were they able to come to terms and figure out some sort of agreement? That was because there were many, but the one main commonality was their love for America and their desire to see it prosper and leave for their posterity a better life. Hello, everyone. My name is JD.
And this is Logan.
And this is the WireTap, and we want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a little bit since we've been with you last time. Last week, it just was not a good week. I was feeling a little under the weather. I had some migraines, and we just didn't have a chance to get into the studio here and record. So, but we're here now, and that's what's important. And we had a lot of issues with our last episode, and we've taken some steps to address those, and hopefully this one is going to be better. And the only way that you're going to know that is whenever you're watching it. So that's just going to be a problem for me whenever I go back and edit this. But what a perfect time to jump back into things than the CNN Townhall that just happened on Thursday night. And we're going to get a little fancy here today. We're going to do something that we've never done, and we're going to watch these videos, or these video clips from the town hall live with you. And we're going to be reacting to them. But this town hall, just to preface all of this town hall was put on by CNN. And
they do one every other week.
Yeah. And this one was already pre-scheduled. This one had been on the docket for a long time for the Democrat candidates, and I'm sure that they otherwise much more would have wanted to talk about
because their climate,
Ukraine and all that kind of stuff.
Their climate one was kind of just out of the blue, wasn't it?
Their climate one was
because
in September, I believe, wasn't it?
They originally wanted ABC to do an entire climate debate. And ABC blew them off, so then CNN decided, let's tank our ratings more and do a 5-hour town hall.
God in heaven. I don't know who could ever possibly want to watch that. I mean, the only reason that I can think that you would want one to be that long, because I could have sworn
this one was 5 hours.
This was a 5-hour town hall?
What they do is they do every single block of their shows from...
Do they have like a candidate every hour or something? Is that how they do it?
Every hour, every half an hour?
Because they had Joe Biden, they had Kamala Harris, they had Beto, they had Warren, of which we're going to talk about at least 3 of those that we have specifically on the docket.
It's their entire lineup that night from like 6 to 11.
Because I know the climate one is ridiculous, and it's like I guess CNN just does this because the only place where CNN has any real ratings is within airports and like government buildings. And I guess that's just so anybody throughout the course of the day who happens to come into those places, has a chance to view a little bit of the town hall. It really doesn't make any sense to me. But this town hall was in conjunction with, who is it, the Human Rights Coalition? Something like that. It's the Human Rights Campaign. That's who it is. And it's one of the most left-wing, LGBT, crazed groups out there. And that's who this was all in conjunction with. And I want to first, just so we can get a nice little taste of just how great this is all going to be. Let's start off with something from the Washington Examiner. That's where this clip comes from. And this is a little boy who asks Elizabeth Warren a question. And I believe that they actually did this during the climate debate, did they not? To where they had a couple children.
Yeah, they have children.
They had children there.
Of course they have children there.
Of course, because that's the left's
That's
thing.
their game anymore.
That is their go-to card. As society has caught on and is starting to turn and reject the way that the left has politicized race and used it as a calling card, and as a defense and as a response to anything that they don't like. So as society has caught on to that, they moved on to children, which in my mind is even worse and even more egregious, to move to children who really have no way to know any better.
They
don't know that they're being used.
Definition of using political props.
And I mean the blame falls on the parents for allowing their child to become such a pawn and such a just corrupted individual.
And the failed parenting that has happened with the Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, you had Greta Thunberg at, I think that was a UN it
was at the UN
conference
summit.
Or something.
It was at the
UN
UN
it was at
summit. And she's still in America, still making news up north, ripping on everyone's way of life.
But that's what the left is doing now, is they are using children as their primary means of getting their message out and trying to sway people's opinion. Is think of the children, and then you have these children who are leading the way. And in fact, that's quite literally, it's becoming the catchphrase, the mantra of the climate change movement.
These children understand this problem. These
children understand this? Well, yes, that's because you've indoctrinated them in their schooling and you're their parents. And here's the thing about children, is they typically reflect the opinions of their parents because they don't have the capability, they don't have the understanding, the knowledge of hindsight to be able to make these kind of educated decisions and come to their own conclusions. Children reflect their parents. That's why. And that's why these children get that so easily, because that's all that they've ever been told. They have parents and they're surrounded by this liberal, leftist, progressivist ideology regarding the environment.
Children don't really speak to me. Whenever I see children as political props, it irritates me. It makes me mad not listen to their message and discredit that movement, like the climate change movement.
And they look to these children, it's like, see, these children are so smart, why are you so dumb? The children are leading the way on this issue, aren't they? The children are leading the adults. Look at these big stupid adults. They don't know what they're doing. No, the children don't know what they're doing. You know why? Because they're children. And all of this, I guarantee it, is going to come to roost. Mark my words. Mark my words. This is all going to come to roost within, I don't know how long, maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But you are going to see, and you've seen this already, is this push for youth voting. I guarantee you that it will become a legitimate part of the Democrat Party's platform that we allow people as young as 16 years old to start voting.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that they will start that campaign for 16-year-olds to start voting.
I'm sure that if you Google it, there's already been candidates that have come out and said that we should do that.
And since you've already seen some of this,
it's been
sporadic, at least on the fringes on Twitter and stuff, I'm sure that there's been legitimate attempts for
Unbelievably surprised
but
that AOC
that will
hasn't
move
said it.
to the mainstream.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I feel as though AOC has probably said something similar to this before. But I will not be surprised if
it becomes a main
if that
issue,
becomes a plank in the Democrat Party platform,
which would
just
be
like abortion,
odd and useless
and
one, but
gay rights and all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, what does it do? What does it do to their base?
it expands.
It expands their base, and it's no different than illegal immigration because that allows them to expand their base as well. But this youth voting movement will come, and it will become a legitimate argument that we are going to have. And the thing about this, and this is getting way off topic from what I really wanted to discuss here, but it gets harder and harder to have these kind of debates. And what you're eventually now going to have is you're going to have the philosophical debate of why somebody cannot vote at that age, or they should not be able to vote at that age. Because then because our society has eroded in such a way, in our view of morality, in our view of ourselves, has eroded in such a way that it is becoming increasingly difficult to have these kind of philosophical discussions from any place of actual intellectual thought.
Yeah.
Because all it is about me, myself, and I. If you want, because we're going to talk about this in a moment, about gender pronouns. If you want to know the gender pronouns of American culture today, it is me, myself, and I. Those are our three pronouns that everyone in this movement, in this society, is increasingly becoming preoccupied with.
Yeah.
Is how the government can benefit me. What can I get out of other people around me and out of the government? That is increasingly becoming our society. And it is getting harder to explain, and it will be very hard to have the philosophical argument because we are becoming so diametrically opposed to each other that there is no commonality. What worked before in America is not working anymore. And why is that? Because you had the right, you had the left, but why were they able to come to compromises? Why were they able to come to terms and figure out some sort of agreement? That was because there were many, but the one main commonality was their love for America and their desire to see it prosper and leave for their posterity a better life. We no longer have that anymore because you have Colin Kaepernick, you have the Black Lives Matter movement, you have the LGBT movement, you have all of these movements that look at America as fundamentally scarred,
at its
fundamentally
foundations,
wrong, at its core, at its foundation, as wrong. And therefore, everything else that follows it is illegitimate. There is no longer that commonality and that love for America and for the principles upon which it was founded. Drawing this all back.
I'm not commenting because I'm waiting for us to get to the clip.
Drawing this all back is just that using these children in this way is sick. I mean, we can all agree for that. Because this is a 9-year-old boy. And we'll just go ahead and play the clip here. But the overarching point, why I say all that, is because we are coming to a dangerous place where there are no more boundaries. Our boundaries regarding sexual matters, sexuality, regarding age, gender, anything like that, any of the boundaries and the lines of demarcation separating those things and saying, there are differences here, are totally being erased. Everything is fluid, and everyone has their own version of truth. So let's go here now to the Washington Examiner clip here. And this is Elizabeth Warren, and it starts off great from the get-go. Let's go.
And Lucia and his mom, Mimi, who's an advocate for transgender youth and active with the Human Rights Campaign. Jacob is an elementary school student from Massachusetts, likes to play hockey. Jacob.
All right, Jacob.
God in heaven, she is so awkward.
That is so weird.
She is so awkward.
All right, Jacob.
All right, Jacob. And I mean, you can't see her because this is on my screen. But the way that she does that, she's like,
I'm sure
all
she's
right,
just like,
Jacob. Like
she does some
this
kind of
weird,
weird movement, doesn't
clap.
she?
And she's just the most awkward person to do this.
She's leaning in like she's so enthusiastic to hear his question.
All right, Jacob. She's so enthusiastic that his name is Jake.
This is making her day right here. She's about to hear a transgender 9-year-old hockey-playing boy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I would react in that situation if I were up on there.
I would be like...
But I mean, she's one of the Democratic presidential, so it's not like you're just being kind of awkward because, like, all eyes are on you. You're used to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I might do that just because I might be awkward and be like, oh, everyone's watching me.
Well,
take this question. And
any
I'm gonna have to
normal
think of an answer on
candidate
the
just
spot.
turns and says, what is your question?
Exactly.
Okay,
But
not. All right.
yeah, I mean, she's bursting with enthusiasm for Jacob's question.
All right, what's Jacob's question?
Hi, my name is Jacob, and I'm a 9-year-old transgender American. My question is...
All right, Jacob. Hold on.
What will you do in your first week as president to make sure that kids like me feel safer in schools? And what do you think schools need to do better to make sure that I don't have to worry about anything but my homework?
Oh,
Would I earn that applause if I stood up and said, I am a white man, a white Christian male? Would the entire room explode into applause?
No, because as I had said before, prefacing this clip, prefacing this monologue, that's exactly what is viewed as being the fundamental issue with this country. And let me say, what should Elizabeth Warren do as president about this? Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. And do you know why? Because the federal government has no place in education. It really doesn't.
No. All right.
Education, and this is where all conservatives should agree, at least on this principle, the federal government should have no place in education.
You can take it state
The
by
federal
state.
government should have absolutely no say in education. Because if you're going to read the Constitution as it is, there is no power enumerated to the federal government for the creation of an educational system, and therefore by the 10th Amendment, it has no power to do so. That power is delegated to the state. Now, from there, you can have the argument, and, us as conservatives, we can have that argument of whether or not we should think that the states should have the right to create a school system,
or if it's just all private.
or if it should be purely privatized and the government either, at the state level has any say in it. I mean, of course, the federal government is out of the picture in this example, but as to whether the states have any right or any say in creating a public school system, or if everything is privatized. You can have that argument in that debate, but Elizabeth Warren's answer, if she's truly versed on the Constitution, which I'm sure.
Oh, she is, man.
That I'm sure that she really does believe that she is.
She went to Harvard.
But
she knows it front
if
and
she's
back.
versed on the Constitution, she should know that this is something that she really has no say in.
Well, I'm betting that's her response, isn't it?
No, I bet so.
That's her response.
Let's find
Right
out.
here.
well, I like that question, Jacob.
She likes that question because
We're
it
gonna do
gives her
this.
that opportunity for us to find out.
So let me start by saying I want to have a Secretary of
mind.
Education who both believes in public
And that's what I mean.
education.
We've come to a place to where what is her first thing that she's going to say?
Expand the government.
Exactly. What is the first thing that she says that she's going to do? She's going to fix something with the government or by the government.
Of course,
The government will fix something.
she never really says that she's going to do it. She even says there, I'm going to appoint a Secretary of Education to fix the problem.
But I mean, thereby, she's fixing the problem by appointing somebody in the government, a bureaucrat, who the voters do not choose. She has the power to choose, not you. She's going to appoint somebody to try to fix this, but let's continue.
Oh, yay.
And believes in the value of every one of our kids and is willing to enforce our civil rights laws. It
heaven. You know, and I'm not even going to say anything about the kid. This falls on the parent using this kid as a pawn.
I'm not going to attack.
I'm not attacking the kid. I'm not even going to say anything about the kid. But let's be honest here. This kid,
he's been through enough having to do this.
This kid, and you know what? Whether or not he's bullied, I'm not even going to address, his
personal life,
his statement, any of his personal claims. You know what? I'll take him at face value. So be it. Okay. Here's the thing. This parent is an enabler. This child is 9 years old. He's not even pubescent yet. He has no at 9 years old, you have no concept of sex. You have no concept, really, of gender other than that girls have cooties. Quite honestly. And you, as the adult, are enabling this behavior. You're enabling this. I don't even know what to call it other than this delusion.
Yeah.
And you are enabling this.
It's like
shame on you.
It's like the guy that's 20 years old and still believes in the tooth fairy.